Hey, what's going on, y'all? I think this works. I'm going to share it with a couple of people and really see, you know, if they can hear it, if they can jump on, and see if they feel like jumping on. A couple of topics that I'm going to be talking about tonight is empaths. You know, how my theories on empaths, how far their reach goes, or how far I think it may go. Um, Time travel. I'll touch on that a little bit. I'm gonna send out a couple of links to a couple of people. See if they can smell what the rock is cooking. You dig what I'm saying? To see if it's something that they're interested in. If you're somebody that wants to get down with the get down, hop on in. I'll give you a chance. Just everybody, give me a few more moments. Let me let this thing cook before we get started today. Like I said before, what I'm going to be talking about, a couple of theories that I've been fooling around with. I've been reading a lot of different books, uh, a lot of different things that interest me. Really, just been, I've actually been MIA for quite some time. Well, not really, but I've been out of it, man. Just caught up in so many different things that I haven't been able to focus. I just got back from the store. Um, all right, so my usual people, one's eating dinner and one's with the in-laws. Oh wait, but he's on now. Let me see if he's able to hear me. Can you hear me though? Blink twice if you're not being kidnapped. That's really what I need to know. All right. Hi has joined. Hey everybody, what's going on? If you're hearing the echo, let me see. Yeah, I'm allowing call-ins. Come on in, player. If you're hearing the echo, it's because I'm getting my floors done. And so, once you do that, you're moving on the furniture. I'm trying this new tea that I got from the trade market. It is. Why won't it let you in? Maybe it's my headphones that's causing the issue because I have wireless headphones. Like I said, if you're able to hear me, say something. Say something in the chat. More importantly, okay, you can hear me, but can you call in? More people jumping in. Okay, this is live. Are you trying to call in? I know my homeboy Chris had his homegirl Marlene that wanted to join in. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'm eating
Oh,
right.
okay. How much longer do you think we be? Well, what? I'm gonna keep this thing cooking because I'm
I'm gonna
actually doing. What's up?
like. It's not gonna be that long.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
like I said, the topics are time travel and the impact. So, when you be ready, hop back on. Anybody else want to call in before I get this thing cooking? Let me know. So, I'll get this thing cooking. So, really, I came back from Cabo with me and my wife. Uh, with me and my wife, we went to go see a friend get married. And while I'm down there, I was listening to a couple of different audible books. One of it was it's called The Book by Alan Watt. I've just got into that one. It won't let me pull up the other ones. Well, one of the other books that I was reading or listening to, hey, mute yourself, man, if you don't mind. Um, One book I was reading was Human Nature, The Laws of Human Nature, I believe, by Robert Greene, same guy who wrote 48 Laws of Power. And it's a pretty interesting book. And like with um, a bunch of books of that type, you always find a little bit of yourself in there. And the little bit of me that I found in there, I have to admit, was slightly unsettling. And I'll probably say that for a different day, for a different podcast. Um, yeah. But what this particular story about and what spurred this particular thought was a story about Martin Luther King. And they were talking about several different things with Mr. King and his origins. Like, honestly, as much as they taught you in school about Martin Luther King, they really didn't teach you a whole bunch. In the book, they really went into his upbringing, how he was kind of a ladies' man, and how he rebelled against his father, so on and so forth, and all the way up to his untimely end and some of the changes that he went through to get to be who he was. But that's not the purpose of this whole thing. There was one part that really stuck to me. At one point in Martin Luther King's life, he was dealing with Vietnam. And they said that he was falling into a deep depression due to Vietnam. And the reason why is because Martin Luther King had a great deal of empathy. He had so much empathy that he got tapped into, and I could be saying this wrong, and don't jump, is I guess they call it the zeitgeist. The zeitgeist is the ability to feel the times of the people, like the general energy of it all, and it was kind of overwhelming to him. And it made me think about what empathy is. And while I was thinking about what the empathy is, I had a dream. I fell asleep and I had a dream, and it was really weird, but I remember it. There were three women up against a hospital wall, and I was pushing a bed, and I see my dad and another gentleman. I can't see my dad's face. And strangely enough, since he's passed, I've had difficulty seeing his face in my dreams. They're walking the other direction. And I look over to these three women and I tell them that pain is the entry fee to empathy. And then I woke up. And then I start to realize that to truly have empathy for other people, you have to have gone through something. You have to have been, and that's not in all cases, but in most cases that I see, in my case in particular, you had to have gone through some tough times in your life for you to fully feel what somebody else is going through on that deeply personal level. You know what I'm saying? And so I wake up from the dream and I start digging a little deeper with this thought. I start digging a little deeper with this thought. And so I think about this thing when I'm at the store. I'm live now. I start digging deeper into this thought, and empaths hop on. I'm sending out some requests. I start digging deeper into this thought, and I think about somebody with empathy. If they're in close proximity with somebody else who's feeling a strong emotion, they can feel it, right? If if they walk into a room and there's two people that may have just gotten in an argument, even if there's no words said, they can feel that, right? If there's somebody giving a speech, if you've ever given a speech, you can gauge the general feel of the room, even if nobody says anything. If you're a performer, a musician, packed out stadium, even without being able to see anybody's face, you could feel the energy in the room. Have you ever walked into a neighborhood that you've never been in, even a nice one, really, really nice one, um, and felt like you didn't belong there? Felt like something wasn't right, felt like something was off, and you needed to get out of there, right? So then that makes me question a couple of things. With certain individuals, maybe your Martins, maybe your Gandhis, maybe Jesus, how far does that power of the person with that great deal of empathy stretch? You dig what I'm saying? How far does it go? Because it can't just be eyesight, because then that would take the performer out of it. So it can stretch and go farther than what we believe. And so I'm just curious to hear, see Wallace, what's going on. I'm curious to hear what other things people think about it. And so, like I was saying, to recap for some of the people, how far does empathy stretch? And how far into the world can you tap into it? And how much does it affect you? Because just like when you walk into that room with two people who've argued, you feel it. And anybody that's being truthful, it makes you uncomfortable. It makes you uncomfortable because you feel it, because it's palatable. So if your level of empathy is greater than the normal person's, say you could feel it on a citywide level, what would that make you feel like? If you could feel it on a national level, what would that make you feel like? If you were somebody imbued with great levels of empathy on a worldwide level, what would that do to you? Would it fill you full of anxiety? Would it make you depressed? I don't know if it would make you feel with hope. What would that do to you? I don't really know. I don't know if it'd be a positive thing. And sometimes, if I'm going to be honest with myself, I wonder if I struggle with that. Because I was sitting around the other day thinking thoughts and shit. And you know what? Because I'll keep it a buck with you guys. Something I've always struggled with in well, let me keep going. When I was reading that book about human nature, they were talking about gender identity, right? Animus and anima. I can't remember which one is for the male and which one is for the female. Hey, Maya. Animus and the anima. And I can be honest with you, my masculinity, quote unquote, is always something that I've struggled with because I always like, man, why can't I just be like other guys? Why am I so sensitive? Why do I pick up on thoughts and the emotions and things of other people? I wish I could be like other people. But then after reading that book the other day, I realized I wasn't made to be like other people, because if I was like other people and that level of empathy was taken away from me, I wouldn't be able to speak to you guys the way that I'm speaking right now. I wouldn't be able to heal and touch the people that I heal and touch and open up in the same context or fashion that I am, because what humanity does, and you guys can call in and hop on, I'm open to discussion. What humanity does is it wants to take you in two extremes, especially in the black community. Actually, let me take that back. In the black community, we like to be ultra masculine, both male and female, and we rob ourselves of so much. I don't believe that gender is a societal construct. There's a guy and there's a woman. But I do believe that there are blends of personality types and emotions. And just because you sway a little bit to this side or sway a little bit to that side, it doesn't make you homosexual or odd. You are literally uniquely yourself. And the incongruency comes about when you decide that you have to be somebody else. Because I can tell you all, if you can hear me out there, trying to be somebody else is a shit ton of work. It's a lot of work. It's exhausting. It's unfulfilling. It doesn't lead you anywhere. Because how could you, like, use sports, for example? What if Kobe Bryant tried to use Shaq's playbook? All right, I'm going to just drive to the basket, back to the basket, and dunk on people. It could work with very limited effectiveness. It could work, but he wouldn't be organically him. Why is it that when we see somebody who's organically and authentically themselves, we gravitate towards that person? I've never, me personally, seen somebody being who they are and be like, oh, they need to be more like, oh man, it's cool if you wanna jump on if the topic interests you.
I'm
Hey,
finally done eating.
was it delicious?
Of course it was. I cooked it.
Oh, okay. All right, what'd you have?
I just made a little stir fry, some chicken, shrimp.
So I don't know if you heard the Maya, you're back. I don't know if you heard where I was at or where I left off. Um, so I'll keep going. I was just talking about being Maya. If you like the topic, you can have to. It's okay to call him. But about being organically you, and the Annabelle and having this. And so what I was saying is that, and it sounds so corny and it sounds so cliche, but you are supposed to be yourself. And I struggle with this. I struggle with this so much because I always wanted to be one of the guys. I always wanted to be like one of the guys and fit in. And to be honest, I never did. I never did, and it was a struggle. And I did gravitate towards hanging out with women when I was younger, which did help me pick up ladies later in life. And then later in life, I did gravitate towards hanging with men. So I've always had this balance. I wouldn't say necessarily masculine and feminine traits, but that is the only way to say it. In that men and women talk different in the subject matter because women are more prone to talk about feelings. Okay, Maya. Maya, I just sent you back the invite. Hey, Maya, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
All right, how's it going?
Oh, that's good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So the topic, I'm not sure. When did you jump in? What is your first thing that you heard?
I think I was passing by, I didn't really get anything. Um, yeah, I just
Okay. So I can recap a little bit. The first thing that I was talking about was empathy. So I had a dream, and it's going to play in the Martin Luther King list, but I had a dream that I was walking in the hospital and I saw three ladies. They were like pushing a stretcher, and then I saw my dad walking the other way. I hear somebody in the background. I think it'll be myself. But I turn back
yeah,
around and I look at the ladies and I tell them that empathy is pain is the entry point for empathy, or the key for empathy. And as I'm starting to think about empathy, I'm reading the book Human Laws of Nature, and they talk about Martin Luther King and this thing called the zeitgeist. It's this the ability to feel the thoughts and the feelings of the time. And it caused him a lot of depression. And so I started thinking more and more about that. I started thinking about, well, when you encounter a person and they're in a bad mood, you can feel that. If you walk into a room and there's two people that just got in an argument, even if there are no words exchanged while you're there, you can feel that. If you are a poet or a speech, or you're doing a speech, you can feel the room. And if you are a performer, even if you can't see everybody in the area, you can feel if your songs are hitting or not. And then I started thinking, well, how far does empathy stretch? How do you quantify that? Because I've walked into neighborhoods, even really nice neighborhoods, and felt uneasy with nobody mistreating me. So if you have a great deal of empathy, would that stretch out to a city level? Would that stretch out to a national level? Is it worldwide? And then how does that affect you with having that level of empathy? So that's really something I've been toying with in my head because I feel like because of my, I guess female and male personality traits that I haven't really good at empathy. It's been bothering me for a while because I've always wanted to be more manly, I guess you could say. How do you feel about that, Maya? I know it's a lot.
Mm. Well, yeah, like for women are more like, like when it comes to feelings and emotions,
Hmm.
we are more emotional. Something that is being taken into um, especially long relationships, they would be most of
I'm
the
having a
time.
little bit of hard time hearing you. You're kind of going in and out.
Sorry, what's that?
What's that?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I was saying I was having a little hard time hearing you.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. So, so yeah, I think it's more common if women are emotional, like being like feeling empathy towards uh their own family members or maybe also to others, and we see this as a normal thing, but some cultures or some people take it from like if a man is doing this, it's like something that is that would make them feel like he's not really emotionally enough. And I don't see this actually like a smart thing. I don't agree.
Okay. Well, they just told me that I'm fading in and out really bad. I definitely agree with some of your points. Let me see if I can get some wired headphones for myself.
No, you're better now. Actually, you were
Okay.
earlier, but now
Oh.
I can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah,
Maybe it's just the distance. Maybe it's just the distance that I was away from my phone. But yeah, I can definitely agree with you, Maya. However, you got somebody calling you. Um, Emotions are a tough thing. I've been listening to this guy. It's like he's a therapist who is a therapist who he talks to a lot of hip hop artists. I've really been really keyed onto him lately. And one of the things that he says that I've been really trying to deal with and process is when you have an emotion, when you have an emotion, sitting in it. Because what I've come to realize, and I know I've always done it, is that we have a tendency to try to run away from our emotions and even deny them and shove them down and try to escape them. And it's much more difficult to sit in the emotion and just let it run and just let it run its course. Don't deny it. If if you're angry, be angry.
Mm,
But not even just be angry. Ask yourself and be truthful with yourself. Why am I angry? I listened
uh-huh.
to this book the other day called The Four Agreements. And one of the agreements is don't take things personally. Like Maya, I've never met you, but if I
Mm,
said, you know what, Maya, you're stupid and your voice sounds funny.
mhm,
Well, unless you agree to that, it won't matter.
mm,
But if you agree to what I said, then it gains power, but only
mm,
with your agreement. But I never understood that. I thought when somebody said something about me, they saw something I didn't see and it was just true.
yeah, but this happens because we're humans.
Hmm.
We feel insecure. Sometimes we feel like, yeah, maybe they see something that I don't see.
Right.
And what if it happens like it is repeated, like two people said that, not just one,
Hmm.
then it's going to be really hard. But going back to this point that you said at the beginning,
Hmm.
which is taking the time, like whatever like feeling you're going through,
Hmm.
if it's sadness, if it's anger, if you just like take the time to just to deal with this emotion, this kind of emotion, because I remember a long time ago, I think that was like 8 years ago, I went through something and it really, really hurt me that I was supposed to cry at least. I didn't.
Hmm.
I was like trying to be strong. I was trying to be
Hmm.
like, like everybody would see me strong, so they would not worry about me, especially
Mm-hmm.
family. So I was trying to show everybody that you guys know I'm fine. Don't worry.
Right.
And I literally I did not shed a tear, which
Mm-hmm.
was definitely unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to come back now, like 8 years later.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of every single thing that happened back then, and I'm not just crying about it. I'm really like breaking. Like
Right.
it was really hard. And when I talked to someone, because I felt like, okay, I need help, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the first right thing I did, which is seeking help.
Right.
I went to a psychiatrist, somebody to talk
Okay.
to, someone who's not from like friends or family, someone who I might feel free to talk to.
Right.
Um, and I told him everything, and I
Right.
didn't really know it was this situation that happened 8 years ago. That was the reason behind everything I'm going through right now.
Right.
He said, "You need to cry. If you need to cry, cry. Do it.
Mm-hmm.
Take all the time you need, so that you'll be, like you'll get better, easier. Now I
No.
need to fix all the time that passed, and I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I'm feeling better now. At least I realized the problem."
You know what? And I'm so glad that you said that
Mhm.
because when I was looking at that book, um, about the human nature book, there was a part of it that struck me in a
Mhm.
way, and it really, really hurt. So part of the
Mhm.
book was it was talking about dating practices. And in one
Mhm.
of the pieces of the book, it talked about the fallen woman. And it's about a guy, about a man who dates women that are nothing like him, completely opposite of him, and it's pretty much doomed for failure. It also talks about women who do it's a lot of different archetypes, but this one
Mhm.
stuck out to me because the root of it was the mother and
Mhm.
the dealings that they had with their mother. And I had to come to realize in reading that book that for the longest time I was dating the same type of women in different bodies, but
Wow.
it was because I didn't address what was going
Mhm.
on with me. I kept trying
Mhm.
to escape it. I did everything but face it. And that's the paradox of so many things. Like the only way to overcome your greatest fear is what? To face it.
To face it, yeah.
We think it's to run the opposite direction. But that's so
Mhm.
far from the truth, it doesn't work. And emotions are the same way. We're taught that if you have an emotion which we perceive as a weakness, you just need to shove it down and just bury it,
Mhm.
even though it's going to manifest again. Uh, and it could even manifest in a physical way.
You said it right there, man. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it's existed before, it's gonna come back one way or another again. If you were pissed off before,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it was something that specifically pissed you off,
Mm-hmm.
um, there is a good chance that it's gonna piss you off again
Mm-hmm.
unless you do something about it,
Mm-hmm.
like face it or address that emotion so that you don't feel the same way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of I mean I talk to people about this all the time. I'm at the point to where if there's something that I see that's supposed to trigger me or tick me off, I don't ignore it or just scoff at it. I look at it and I realize that it's something that might anger me, and
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes I may smirk, sometimes I may shrug, and then move on to the next thing. You know what I'm saying? I do recognize that this thing that's posted or whoever says what they say was is supposed to anger me, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm so used to seeing these things or
Mm-hmm.
dealing with these situations that now I know that the default setting is get mad and get outraged and go crazy, but now
So,
I
mhm.
uh-huh
No, no, go ahead, man.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Nowadays, I just don't. It just doesn't go. It just doesn't go there anymore because I nowadays I just have. I try to have more control over how I respond to things.
So you know what's
Mhm.
interesting about that? Anger is actually a secondary emotion. When we get angry, it's okay to be angry, but it's the first question you need to ask yourself is, why am I truly angry? And a lot of times I find that the root of me being angry is that I'm actually
Mhm.
hurt. The person hurt me because it's usually somebody close to me, or I thought maybe that our relationship was better than that. And so am I really angry or am I really hurt by that interaction? Just like when somebody's driving in traffic, how often is the root of you being angry that somebody cut you off really, really, truly about them cutting you off? Like the root of it. Because if you ever notice that when you're in a really, really good mood, say you just got paid, your hair's done, you're feeling good, and somebody cuts you off, how often do you care? How often do you actually fly into road rage? Now,
Mhm.
when you're late for work, you're going to a shitty job that you don't like, all of a sudden, all those stoplights, all those people cutting you off, or even that guy giving you a finger, it
Mhm.
turns into something else. Because I was reading, I don't know what book I was reading, but they were talking about the reason that your psychologist or psychiatrist doesn't give you the answer. And this was a light bulb moment to me, Maya, because I've seen a psychologist as well, and it
Mhm.
really, and what I read in the book, it said that if you tell somebody the answer to their problem without them figuring it out, imagine this. If somebody's wearing green tinted glasses and you show them a red rose and tell them it's red, until they take off those green tinted shades, nothing of what you're saying is going to work.
Yeah, I like this one. Right.
The person has to see it themselves to make the progress to the next step.
Yeah. Mhm. Definitely, and I believe it's like it's most of the time it's not the thing that's happening right now. It's something that happened earlier,
Hmm.
and you didn't handle the right way, or maybe not just one thing. Sometimes it's a pile of things. Things are just like piling up, and you are not reacting to it,
Hmm.
and then after some time it just happens, and it
Yeah.
sometimes it's a very silly thing, like I remember
Hmm.
I remember one time I opened the fridge and I was like I was saving myself a chocolate. I didn't find it, somebody ate it. I think my
Hmm.
brother, I don't know, I started crying. That was stupid, but I know at that time I was so emotional to
Hmm.
everything, almost everything. And it's because, yeah, there was something deep down that I didn't really discuss, I didn't react to, and
Hmm.
that's it.
Oh yeah, like a lot of times. Hey Tony, what's going on, man?
Hello.
Hey,
Hello. Hello.
so hey, what's going on? So
You can
like
hear me?
me,
Well,
yes sir, I can hear you.
what's up,
Like
Tony?
like like for
Hey.
me, a lot of times I'll get. I won't say that I'll have anger issues. I don't think that I do, but sometimes I'll have outbursts if I think somebody's wronged me. And
Mhm.
the root of that is because I got picked on in childhood. And then you get to a point in your life where you're like, well, that's never going to happen again. A lot of times it has nothing to do with what that person actually said. It's like almost a
Mhm.
PTSD of sorts, to where you get all these little micro flashbacks and you just kind. So every decision you make is predicated by every other decision that happened up to that point. And that's what the definition of even PTSD is. I don't know why you can't hear either, man. That's weird. That's what the definition of PTSD is. So when somebody has PTSD, and trauma isn't just for soldiers, trauma can be anything for anybody. Um,
Truth.
you literally will get flashbacks of that event, and it affects you greatly in that moment. And if you take away a soldier at war, if you had relationships can be traumatic. And that can, I mean, how many people do we know that have past relationships that have damaged them so much in the future that they're almost
Oh
undateable?
yeah.
What's
Yeah.
that, Tony?
Uh,
No, go ahead, jump in.
absolutely. Yeah. No. I got fat kid PTSD.
Okay.
Straight up.
What's that?
Like, well, it's like you grow up as a chunky kid, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then like I was in Boy Scouts, I was in football, all the stuff that you would do things in. And the way you get treated as a chunkier kid, you know what I mean. You develop certain reactions that people who don't have to deal with that kind of stuff, don't necessarily react to. Like, like I don't like to hug people. You know what I
Really?
mean? And people like are want to give me want to embrace you. I'm like, dude, please don't touch me. It's because when I was a kid, people come up, they go to give you a hug, and instead the big thing was when you're a big kid, they like to squeeze you on the mammary glands. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And make
Right.
fun of your man boobs. You know what I mean? So
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah, so like anytime anybody even reaches for my chest, I immediately go into like defensive mode. You know
You
what I
want to
mean?
hear
To the
something? You want to hear something funny? So I have a thing about my neck because when I was a kid, somebody choked me.
hmm,
So now at almost 40 years old, like if somebody touches my neck, it wasn't that somebody choked me. In reality, it was the sense of powerlessness I had in that moment.
right.
The fact that I didn't do anything about it, that I didn't swat his hand away or choke him back, it
Yeah,
sticks with you, and it just kind
absolutely.
of stays in there. And it's it's an overreaction, honestly.
It is.
Now,
It is. I have a lot of very tense behavioral things that I do that like because I seem like most people that know me, they feel like I'm kind of laid back and I'm real chill, but I have very
mhm,
extreme reactions to certain things, like, and it's almost like it's such a counterpoint to my normal disposition that it kind of comes off as a little crazy. You know what I mean? But I can't
right,
help it. Like I can't
right,
like what's like people talking to me disrespectfully, and not that
hmm,
anybody likes being talked to disrespectfully. You know what I
right,
mean? But I've got a
right,
real thing, and it's from years of being treated like a buffoon.
hmm,
Just because of your appearance, that I have this need to like assert my intellectual capability when somebody
hmm,
treats me like an idiot. And it's like and I'm very aggressive about it because I'm a New Yorker and I got a big mouth. So it's
hmm,
like absolutely, and that's gotten me in a lot of trouble.
right,
Because you do things, people don't deserve those reactions because they've when you learn to take a step back and look at the actual situation, say, okay, in the context of things, that was a giant overreaction. People don't know that you're emotionally scarred from this and that, whatever. All they saw
right.
was you rip somebody's head off because they offered you a cookie or whatever the case may be. So that's
Ever
that's one
a
of those
book
things
called
that you got to learn.
Have you guys ever
You got to learn how to deal with it.
heard of this book called The Four Agreements? I touched on it a little bit, but I watched a YouTube video and I would encourage you to watch it or read the book. And I was reading it over the last week and I had a lot of aha moments. So the four agreements
Hmm.
are: number one, to be impeccable with your word, don't gossip, don't make empty promises, and just really controlling your tongue. Number two is don't take things personally. Just like I was telling you before. Actually, I didn't tell you this one before, Ma, but don't take things personally because if you take the way that he described it, we all have different worldviews about how we see the world. And if you take things personally, you're saying that you know exactly what's happening in that person's world.
Right.
For example, say I'm walking by you and I say hello and you don't say hello back. If I took that personally without learning everything about what was going on, you could be deaf in the ear, you could have headphones in, you could not be paying attention, but
Hmm.
I could turn that into something completely different. Uh, Number three, which goes into number two, is to don't make assumptions. Ask the question if something bothers you to get further clarification. And the fourth one, which is really interesting, is to always do your best in any given subject. And what they talked about in always doing your best, they talked about Forrest Gump. And they're like, Forrest Gump went through so many different trials and tribulations in his life, but the universe blessed him so much because all he did was put forth his best effort without expecting anything back in return. And that not taking thing personally thing and not making assumptions is a big one for me because how many of us have said such and such happened? And I'll be like, well, did you talk to the person? No, but I know they know what I'm talking about. And I'm mad that they treated me this way. Well, did you tell them that you were upset? No, but they know I am upset. That's so unfair. That's such
Yeah.
an unfair thing to do to somebody else because we've had people that all of a sudden have treated us differently only for you to find out later they thought that you meant something that you absolutely didn't mean to do. But that's a difficult thing to go up to somebody because in a way you're kind of putting yourself out there and making yourself vulnerable to mend the problem. And mostly in Western culture, we're not about forgiveness. We're about strife and win lose situations, not really
Yeah.
win win. That's not how we're taught. We're not taught to say, hey, Tagba, that thing that you said to me the other day, it actually bothered me and it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, man. And I need you to clarify that. No, it's supposed to be like, hey, man, let's box. F you
It's
or
all
whatever. What's that?
we live in a society to where everything is about getting the upper hand no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter how foolish we end up looking, even if we get the upper hand, because I've been there, I'm pretty sure everyone in here has been there one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, it's not even about gaining the upper hand all the time. Sometimes it's even about feeling as if you got the upper hand
Mm-hmm.
over, over whoever it is or what group of people or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And and I'm doing my best with every single thing that I am to just back away from that way of thinking, because if someone comes at me on something and if they're not trying to talk it over or whatever, I just walk away. It's
Right.
easier for me.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? It's easier. I don't have to expend any amount of energy trying to go back and forth, trying to understand where they're coming from. If they're being illogical or stubborn or whatever words you want to throw out there,
Yeah.
I just walk away. And if they want to talk about it later, cool. If not, I understand as well.
Well,
That's
it's. Go ahead, Tony. Go
no,
ahead.
that's one of the benefits of getting older, is I can now pull the old Puerto Rican guy move when I want to exit a situation, and I love it
Mm-hmm.
because it works like a charm. It's like you look at the
What's
person, you
that?
just kind of smile a little bit, and you go, "Thank you very much, nice to meet you," and you just walk the fuck off.
Yeah.
And you just, and the thing is that like I've seen my dad do that, I've seen uncles do that. You know what I mean? And it's like we've always wondered, well, why, that's such a strange thing to do. But people won't argue with it. It's just like, okay, that guy's done talking, I can talk. You know.
Well,
And older dudes, when the old dude's done talking, most people give fuck it, because at this point, what like after a certain age, people stop giving a shit about what you have to say. I've noticed. You know what I mean?
right.
That's like the big thing with. Uh, I think that's my personal trial at this point. Is the whole aging thing is starting to get to me a little bit. But
Well, at some point, you have to ask yourself when you're about to engage with somebody with something. Why am I getting into this engagement, right? And a lot of times, I would say almost 98% of the times, you're getting into this engagement because of your ego. Your ego won't allow you to disengage.
yeah,
You at a certain point in the conversation, you're not even doing it to prove a point. You're not doing it to let them person know that you're wrong. You're doing it to talk this person into submission. You actually don't care if they ever agree with your point because 9 times out of 10, that person has that same level of ego. And even if they start to see that you're right, they won't admit it to you. They would rather walk in willful ignorance for the rest of their life. Some people would rather walk into a burning ditch full with electric platypuses than to ever admit that you were right about something. So then the question
yeah.
is, if you understand that about people, why are you engaging? Could you imagine if I got into an argument with Jay-Z about how to sell an album? You see how ridiculous, and what would be more ridiculous? Me engaging with him or him engaging back.
Well, yeah.
He
I
would look
mean,
crazy.
yeah, because I mean that's like the whole when Machine Gun Kelly was talking shit to Eminem, and
Hmm.
originally he didn't say anything, and that was why. It was like, what the fuck am I gonna say to this hard on?
Yeah,
What is he? What is he gonna say that merits my response? You know, but
nothing.
you know,
Mm.
I
I mean, he did kind of say something that merited the response, but I mean, he kind of did, but
yeah. I mean, eventually he made a song, didn't he? Or he did
Yeah, they made
yeah,
songs back and
yeah,
forth, but I
yeah,
yeah,
generally I generally understand exactly what you're saying. It comes to a point of pointlessness, but then you have to ask yourself why. Why am I engaging in this? And then once you have that honest conversation with yourself about why you're doing it, then comes the hard part,
yeah,
taking that next step. And that's with a lot of different things. It's not just with arguments about right or wrong. A harder one is it's with relationships. Why am I in this relationship? Is it because I'm truly have a strong feeling for this person, or is it because I'm lonely? That's a tough one. And a lot of people, I would think more people have that emotion than they're willing to admit. They don't want no, because who wants to say that? Because if you open your mouth and say that, well, now you've opened up a whole nother can of worms that you have to face.
yeah. That's the thing. You gotta love something to hate it. That's a
Absolutely.
fact. And if you
Hmm.
even it's the love of the hatred of it, you got to love something on some level to fucking hate it, to truly hate it. And
So
I
you want to
think,
hear something interesting? So we think that the opposite of love is hate. Untrue. The opposite of love is ambivalence.
uh,
If you really disdain something, you don't even think about it. To still have hate for something is to still have a level of emotion for it. And that level of emotion is still probably rooted in love.
you were hurt
that's
in some
why,
way by the thing.
Hmm.
yeah, that's why every time I
Where
talk
you
to
guys going?
people, and see them,
Ten.
they
So where
show
you guys going? I'm
they
listening.
show hatred. They show hatred towards things. They do all these hate posts and do all these think pieces or whatever the
Hmm.
hell. And I'm like, why are you wasting your time over something that you don't like? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
why are you spending 2 or 3 paragraphs? Because me personally, like, I'm not gonna really throw out any examples like that. Like, if I don't like it or have any interest in it, I don't want to
Hmm.
spend my time on it. Like, I
yeah,
just don't. I don't. I don't care. It's not even a I don't care thing. It's a, oh yeah, whatever. I'm gonna go over here and listen to this Nas album and read this book or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
yeah,
and people will try to say, hey, what do you think about this, such and such and such and such? I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I just don't. Like, don't
yeah,
try to snake me in because you want an opinion for me, and I mean, my opinion is whatever opinion that I have is gonna either have you react positively or negatively, and I just don't want to be a part of that. I'd rather just do my own thing. And that's
yeah,
that.
Right. Right.
yeah. That's you know, that's hard. That was hard for me to learn. I'm
What's
not gonna
that?
lie. That was I could I'm a big talker,
Hmm.
so I can do 3,000 words easy on why I don't like somebody. You know,
Hmm.
and it would happen so fast. You would like, and that's the thing with me is that I talk too damn much, and that's been part of aging for me. From time to time I open my mouth, like, I called in today specifically to talk, so I'll do a little more talking than usual. But now on my day to day, dude, 1 2 words per person, if that.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just like I can't bring myself to engage people in conversation like I used to, unless there's a purpose. It's a purpose-driven conversation. Like somebody, like there has to be a real need for me to open my mouth before I open my mouth and give somebody my opinion about anything. And
Hmm.
because for one, there's so much consequence to everything you say now, whether you want to
Mm,
admit it or not. And no matter how irrelevant you may think that you are, just saying the wrong thing will make you extremely relevant to a lot of people. People will
yeah.
find, you know, and
Mhm.
you know, you will come from anonymity and suddenly be this monstrosity if you say or do the wrong thing, you know.
Right.
And that's not me encouraging people to be deceitful, to hide things about them, and you know, not. But what I'm saying is that you know that's me saying that from now for the first time it's really is that you got to watch your mouth when you put
Yeah.
things online because it's not like
And
just being heard in a crowd. It's there
right.
forever, you know.
Right.
Hmm.
And it's funny that you say that. I remember, I don't know what I was watching, but they said something that stuck with me forever. The guy said that he lived in a house that did not nurture honesty. It punished it. And I never thought of things that way. And then you have to sit there and think about the environments that we hang out in or that we encounter, like what you were saying.
Hmm.
You get shouted down now if you speak your truth. And so if you don't speak your truth, that means you're speaking a lie. And there's power in the tongue because it controls what goes on in the brain. So
Right.
what does that do to you if you can't voice your opinion and I believe it will cause resentment and discontent. And it's going to come out in other ways. I've really been realizing that for me personally, I expel negative energy through physical activity. And as I got older, I stopped doing as many physical things. I went to drinking and chasing chicks and marijuana and all these different things, and then wondered why my anxiety level was creeping up. And so while I was in Cabo, even though I haven't drunk or really eaten certain types of food, I decided to let loose. Well, I started to notice that my mood was starting to change. And so what I started to do with certain types of foods is I started to write down how I felt when I would eat them. And a couple of thoughts came to mind while I was doing that. One, we can all agree in this room that when somebody, we've heard the phrase of like cooking with love or food made with love in it, right? If that's the truth, well, then the opposite end of the spectrum has to be true as well. If food's made with love, you can feel that means foods that are made with a negative intent, we should be able to feel as well. So I started writing down my emotions of the foods that I was eating. And I noticed that when I ate artificial sugars, I became moody and irritable. When I ate red meat, I became sluggish and tired. When I drank alcohol, in the moment I'd be brave, but later I would feel weakened and cowardly, and caffeine would make me anxious. So now I realize that I need to stick to foods that empower me and make me feel good. I've never eaten a piece of salmon and felt horrible after it. I've never eaten a strawberry and felt something, but I've eaten a candy bar and have literally been filled with regret. And I'm probably or eaten a whole pint of ice cream and felt disgusted with myself. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person in here that's had that emotion. Why would you feel disgust? Why would you feel that level of self contempt because you ate something? Think about that for a second. You willingly put something in your mouth and then you start to badger and berate yourself for it. And then you do it again. Anybody?
Well, first off, I think
Hello? Tiger, if you're still there, I can't hear you.
Sog, you there? While we're waiting for Tog, I want to give him a big shout out for keeping me culturally relevant.
Okay,
Real
all
shit.
right, all right.
Like Tog's posts are why I know
Mm-hmm.
anything about hip hop.
I know jiggity jack about hip hop anymore, man. I'm still out of it. So, but what do you think about what I just said?
Well, let me say, um, I think I don't know. I think the real truth is that um, we're in the middle of a change we have no idea what how far we are from the other side because
Hmm.
we don't know what's happening. There's nothing to navigate. Hold on a second. What are you saying? Oh, so it's like what we're doing now. Sorry, I'm picking something up. What we're
Hmm.
doing now is figuring out what kind of a world we're about to merge into, and a lot of the things that we know is normal
Hmm.
are not going to be normal, and a lot of
Hmm.
things that are being acquired as normal are things that some of us are getting used to. Some is a little easier than others, and I don't know what to say to anybody anymore.
Right. Right.
I like. I have a lot of friends on a lot that apparently uh, I have friends all over the entire spectrum of every kind of belief system there is, and
Hmm.
every friend I have will be positive on one thing, and they'll be
Hmm.
negative on another. I would just not see coming. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's weird the things that people were really, 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 really animated about being against to the point of like becoming enraged at the subject matter coming up on accident.
Well,
That's
it's
a
funny
thing
that
now.
no,
Like,
no, it's funny that you said that because I have a general contractor over here working on my house, and I'm just talking, and I literally just bring up COVID and just say, the numbers are getting bad, and this guy's like,
yeah,
it's fake, and just going on and
yeah,
on. I'm like, dude, I'm, I don't feel that strongly about it. The only
yeah,
thing that I know for sure is that people are dying. I don't. No, I
yeah,
mean, like, I know that. And he's like, that's not
yeah.
true. I'm like, I work in healthcare. I'm telling you, people are dying. Like, but that was kind of what I was
Yeah,
saying before about realizing, like, why am I arguing with this man? He has his opinion. He thinks it's fake. I
right.
know that's okay. If that's what
Yeah.
you want to believe,
What
man.
you have people have phrases, right? That it's like those charts. There is a name for the chart. It's like it's a data chart where it's like you're given an option and then that goes off into two forks of motion. And then you arrive at the next option and that takes you and by the end of it you have like a path to a certain uh, uh, I don't even know how to explain it. It's people use it to organize their thoughts and come to conclusions. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And so it's like we're at a point where like you know uh, people say one thing, and I know
Hmm.
okay, I'm not going to talk about this subject anymore. We're going to talk
Hmm.
about like the color of their shirt or something, and we're just going to
Right.
take it somewhere good, so I can like just skate on and move on with my day. You know what I mean? And the thing is that you got to do that with everybody, bro. And it's like people that I knew I've known for 20 years as being a completely normal human being. All of a
Hmm.
sudden, human landmine. You know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
it's just like yeah. And I don't want to. I don't think it's. I don't want to make nobody mad. You know what I mean?
That's not my
Like,
intention with my interactions with people.
right. I don't want to make nobody mad. So instead of, and that is something that I'm so good at making people mad, bro, that like
Hmm.
now it's my time to shine. Okay. I've been learning how to duck people's feelings all my motherfucking life. Okay. So
Right.
I'm out
Right.
here like fucking Jesse Owens just hopping over things. You know, I know exactly how to dodge people's feelings, bro, because I have had to
Yeah.
do that. I've had to censor myself because I'm such an idiot. You know,
Hmm.
I am. I mean, and that's cool. I'm aware. I'm not a, what I'm saying? I know how to dial it down. So there's some people that love it when I'm dialed up to 11, you know, because when
I've
I'm dialed,
never I've never thought of you as an inflammatory person though.
oh, dude, you, oh, man.
I've never thought of you that way. I've
Oh,
never seen
dude,
you in that light.
yeah, the thing is that I'm such a bad mouth, dude. And like if I want to incinerate a human being with words, I'm like surgeons. I just vomit on them like a
Right.
monster.
Right.
I've seen it. I've seen it, bro. Like I've seen
Yeah,
it a
Really?
couple of
and
times. Like
it's not like small things. I
Hmm.
like to really get under people's skin, and I'm really good
Right.
at it. And I don't want
Hmm.
to be that way, but it's like the one of like five good things that I'm good at in this life. So what do? You become a bartender, right? And you have little quirky conversations. Maybe I might make a good stand-up comedian or something. But it doesn't leave for that's not a great like thing like to find out late in life about yourself and like you're like a coworker and you go places and you don't realize the little things you say in jest are fucking, people are up in pitchforks about you because they think you're an asshole. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I,
that's why I've
I,
learned to watch my tongue more and more.
yeah, absolutely. That is the lesson going into the big 4-0 for me. Is shut the fuck up. No one gives a shit. There is not
Yeah.
one human being in God's green earth and this whole wide world or the big universe that gives one flying rat's ass of what I have to say about anything. And that is the truth of life.
I mean, people do care. People
I
people
mean, to an
value your
extent,
opinion.
you
You
know what I
know
mean?
what?
But it's
I
contextual.
honest, I honestly think that most people that get outraged by some of the shit that we say, that people say, most of them really don't care anyway. They just
Yeah.
want to make it look like they do care
Yeah.
because they belong to a certain group of people or a certain hive, and a lot of it's just all about feeling like they belong somewhere.
There's
You know
people.
what I mean?
Right.
Well, who was it that was saying people get enraged on behalf of other people now? This is stand up comedian. I forget who it was I was watching. And that's the other thing. I love stand up comedy. This shit's so hard to watch now.
Really? Why do you say that?
Oh man, like if the person isn't like Dave Chappelle's newer stuff is funny to the degree that because he doesn't give a fuck,
Hmm.
and he goes out there and he says what he says. You know what I mean? And the thing is, here's the truth. You know, his jokes worked for him alone. You know,
Hmm.
other comedians can't tell Dave Chappelle jokes, and it's a fact.
Hmm.
Just can't do it. Now this
Hmm.
guy and the what we know, like growing up in the in the 80s and watching and indulging in Hollywood life and all that, the things you read and then like the things they put out in the form of documentaries and like behind the scenes like novelizations and all the information that gets put out, whether it's true or not, they paint a certain picture of the way Hollywood worked in the 80s and the 70s and you know and
Hmm.
those were horrible circumstances that people had to work through, you know
Right.
and uh, what's happened is that those things, the things that things work, the way things worked back then, those things have actually started to die and go away. And now
Hmm.
we see a lot of things are in their death throes, and as a result, people don't realize how systemic some of that behavior is, and some industries
Hmm.
have to collapse in order for there to be a real evolution. And
Right.
like the
Absolutely.
concept of the big movie set, like the old Metro Golden Ware set. There was just miles and miles of movie sets, that they produced and all that. And that's
Hmm.
with the big movie house to produce everything. That kind of model, I think we're going to see a dramatic change in like the
I
way
think it's
things are
pretty much already
industrialized.
gone. I think that's pretty much gone because
Yeah.
people aren't even leaving the
Well,
house
Tyler
really.
Perry just put up a huge in Georgia, huge media center, and it has
I, th-
private sound
I
stages and crazy. It is the biggest in the world.
I think it's gonna depend on the movie budget, but I think a lot of movies are going to scale down on that. That big box, unless if it's a movie like say Suicide Squad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I haven't seen that yet, unfortunately. But
Oh,
if
dude,
it's
dude.
yeah, I know. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that everyone's like says like, dude. And I'm like, oh man, okay, let me just hurry up and watch this.
Well, I can be
But
honest
yeah,
with
but, I
you.
mean,
Do you know the last movie
uh
that I probably watched in it? Probably the last movie that I've watched, period, is probably Avengers Endgame. That's the last
Which
movie
one?
that I've watched. Endgame, I guess that's the one.
he said Endgame. Wow.
Endgame was the last movie you watched in theaters. That
Here, no, no, no,
tracks
no, no, no,
though.
no, no,
You know
no,
what
no,
I mean?
no. The last movie I watched, period.
Yeah, that
Jeez.
tracks. There's a lot of people, man. That's like a lot of people have just stopped indulging in that.
I'm
They don't
unplugging.
have
I'm
time.
unplugged.
Yeah, some people don't have time to sit down and like watch. Like at one point, I had a group of buddies that we used to watch like days worth of movies just to for shits and giggles because we were idiots. That was just what we did. To do something like that now is just completely unimaginable. I could not sit still long enough to fucking,
Well,
you know what I'm
I
saying?
think
Like we
I've
used to.
started to realize that I'm a consummate learner. I learn and engage, and I realized I wasn't getting that from movies. I was actually living somebody else's life,
Yeah.
kind of avoiding my own.
Yeah.
And so,
It,
not
it
shitting
is
on
a
anybody that
it,
wants to watch movies, but I just started to realize that about myself. And so, I've kind of gotten away from sitting in front of the TV because effectively, if you really think about it, I think I brought this up before. If you were to remove the television set, you're staring at a wall for hours.
Yeah.
That's
that's
effect
true.
like
Yeah.
if you take away your phone, you're staring at your palm for hours. They would probably label you
Yeah.
as psychotic if you did such.
Well, I'm gonna tell you like this though, bro. All right,
What's up,
the way
man?
things are going, okay,
Hmm.
there's that's it. Like what we know as media indulgent with movie theaters and televisions and the idea
Hmm.
of like analog television that comes in with rabbit ears and all that.
Hmm.
Any technology that existed before the '90s, dude,
Hmm.
is completely off the map, dude. Completely gone. Right. Once our generation, like us, we're octogenarians and we're in our 80s. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? There will be none. They would that's what I'm saying. You see where technology is going, dude. It's going to a point where like your people are able to communicate with people immediately, right then and there, no matter where they are. You know,
So that
at
goes
this
into
point
my
now, they're
next
just
point.
gonna.
It goes into my another point that I was going to talk about, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I was able to flesh this thought out a little bit more. And it's the possibility of time travel, right? And what time travel is. And what I've come to realize, my deduction is that we are all capable of time travel in a degree, right? And the degree to be able to time travel is you have a thought of something in the future that does not yet exist, and then you bring it into the present. Tony, were you able
Yeah.
to hear me?
No, I had
Sure.
some warble there. Sorry.
Sure. So what I said was
Have you,
what I theorize time travel is that if you're able to think of an idea that does not yet exist in the present and then you bring it into the present, essentially is time
Right.
travel. For example, the Wright brothers in an airplane. No one could
Right.
conceptualize an airplane. They couldn't tell you what it was, didn't get it. They were able to
Yeah.
pull, airplanes existed in the future. They were able to pull something that wasn't present and bring it to the present. Just like when we were growing up, if somebody told you when we were playing Oregon Trail that you would have a device thousands of times more powerful than what we were playing on, that you'd be able to transport, talk to people, shoot video, download tens of thousands of your favorite albums on it, we wouldn't have been able to conceptualize that. But somebody with that
Well,
ability to time travel was.
there was a book series when we were kids. It was called My Substitute Teacher Was an Alien. Do you remember this?
Mm-hmm. I do.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. If you think about it, the alien dude that was the alien had a little palm device that was basically a smartphone. I went back and I
Mm-hmm.
read it. It basically was. It was capable of making masks and printing them out, and he could do whatever he wanted, bring up any information, take pictures, do videos, translate everything we can do with a smartphone, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of people sleep like there's a big connection with, what science fiction does and where, people who become scientists and engineers do in the future, That's a
So
lot of
the
their I think a lot their ideas come from, you
so
know?
that's the question. Are they tapping into something? Are they so do because we can say that artists and creatives and scientists think on a different wavelength, right? So then the
Right.
question becomes, are these people tapping into something that's saying, hey, I need you to write this down. I need you to say or do this to spark the mind of somebody who can actually create it, or are they tapping into that future and bring it to the present? There's really no way of knowing. Or is the book itself influencing the person to make that thing exist? Maybe like just say for the shits and giggles that had that book or Star Trek or any of those things had never existed, A scientist may have never
Yeah.
even thought to make such a device.
Right.
There's no way of
I
knowing
think a
which
lot.
influenced which. Hmm?
That's true. But the thing is, I feel like people when they get like that news, whatever it
Hmm.
is, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
I think there would be a lot more good ideas out there if there wasn't
Hmm.
such an inherent focus by society to distract them. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think
Right.
that a lot more people could have a lot more conductivity with that
Hmm.
spark. It puts that kind
Right.
of energy out that makes you can, do and see and think, and it makes you curious, and you would be more curious if it occurred to you that that was a possibility. And a lot of people don't
Hmm.
because they're too busy thinking about, blibbity blip and the things they have to turn in on Thursday, and they
Right.
better be some
Right.
really serious life altering consequences. They do one wrong little thing, that's the
Well,
end of their entire life.
you gotta think about this too. Um, why now in the present are we having such a hard time tapping into that source, right? So they tell you all the time that when you want to talk to God, you got to be relatively quiet. You have to get in a quiet space. When's the last time anybody in this room right now has sat down and done nothing? And when I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing. No phone, no TV, no books, no radio, just sitting down, not before bed, but just sitting there even for 15 minutes and do nothing. Because your brain is just like anything else, it needs time to rest. And in all honesty, all these ideas that I tell you guys, I usually get them from my morning walks because I take my earphones out, I leave my phone at home, and I just go. And then all of a sudden, my brain has time to think. It has a chance to grasp at these internal answers because I know you guys are probably like me. My day is usually filled up with YouTube video after YouTube video after album, just a bunch of stuff.
Hmm.
And I can't ever think and come to those self
If they say the
discoveries.
worst thing you could do is look at your phone when you go to sleep and then do it when you wake up again. That's the worst thing you
Absolutely.
can do.
Absolutely, because in a way, you're actually you're worshiping your phone. You're basically because if I were to tell you, say minus a phone, if I told you there's this thing that I look at before I go to sleep, and there's the same thing I look at it first thing in the morning, how odd would that be? If it was a picture of somebody, if it was a book, if every day for years on end, it was the very first thing I looked at and the very first thing I saw in the morning and the first thing at night, what would you think my connection with that thing is? You wouldn't think it's a healthy one.
Like you would have to be if it wasn't keeping you alive and you were investing that kind of time in it,
Mhm.
then there would be an issue.
No, you would be like, hey man, you would probably come to me as a friend and be like, could you imagine if it wasn't the phone, right? Could you imagine if I walked around every day with this thing? Every place you saw me, Tony, I had this thing and I was staring at it every day. And every time we went on a road trip, I'd wake up and look at it, put a protective casing around it. You see what I'm saying? Like, not
Yeah,
let anybody
I
touch it.
would.
Don't let anybody touch. No, you can't touch my thing. You would think I'm a madman. No, seriously.
I,
You would.
no, I
Hmm.
hear you, man. I hear you. Like I'm laughing because I'm picturing like my little brother, and he
Not,
Yeah.
has
not,
like a set of
not
books.
to mention, you got a password on that thing with
I got a
your
password on
freaking
that thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I got
yeah,
all my
freaking face
personal.
recognition and shit.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? I got password. I
yeah,
have
Yeah,
face recognition and a password on this thing.
yeah,
Nobody can get into this thing. And if you ask me why,
yeah.
it has why do you want to know? Back away. You would start to wonder what's wrong with Donaldson. Why is he so enamored with this thing? We look at this thing before we brush our teeth, literally. before we brush our
No,
teeth.
that's true.
And to think that psychologically that has no effect is lunacy. That's it's untrue. It has an effect. I can't sit here and tell you I know which one. And Ant Kanjay, it's been a long time since I've had to train myself to do nothing. Like, and it's an active battle because your brain revolts. Like, meditation is very difficult because your brain, once again, we're taught in Western society that if you're not doing something, you're doing nothing, and you're a failure if you're not doing something. So you need to be doing something right now, all the time, even if it's meaningless. Do something. Um, but yeah, so I've learned that, and I don't do it every time. So don't think anybody think that I'm holier than anybody. But what I've tried to learn to do is I have a morning routine, and my morning routine consists of this. I keep my Apple Watch next to my bed, and I keep my phone in an adjacent room. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll put my watch on and do a 5 minute deep breathing just to get my resting heart rate. Then I'll go and I'll do like coconut oil pulling because they say it's good. It actually works really well to what's the word? It has like a antibacterial effect. I swish it around for 10 minutes. I'll wash my face, and then I'll brush my teeth, and then I'll go do some yoga or just some stretches, and then I'll go check my phone. And what I notice is that when I follow that order, and I don't do it every day, but I notice a difference, my days start out much smoother. I'm much more grounded, and I feel ready to go. Now, if I reverse that order, this is what happens. I wake up, I immediately check my phone, I go to 20, 30 different websites. I might check Facebook. I'll listen to some YouTube videos, and then I'm late for work. I'll jump up, wash my face, brush my teeth, and then run out the door. And that literally happens every single time. I can eat. I think we can all say, no matter what time you wake up, it is so easy to spend an hour, a straight hour on the phone doing nothing.
Mhm. And maybe even more than that. Hell,
Oh
I
no,
used
easy.
to get I used to get stuck on my computer before the invention of the smartphone. I'm talking,
Mhm.
say, 2011, 2010, around that time, right before smartphones became, you know, available available to everybody. And it's really weird
Mhm.
how it's just been about 10 or so years ago to where we weren't using these things like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, and
Now
but
you have to have
now,
one.
isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the thing is that we got through life and we got through our day to day situations
Just fine.
10 years ago,
Just
like
fine.
fine, like
No,
without.
no. Bump 10 years ago, billions, millions of years, people have been okay with nothing. Now,
Yep.
you could leave your house, be an hour away and freak out when you figure out you don't have your phone because you think you're missing. Dude,
Hmm.
when we grew up in the era where you just had to wait till you got to a payphone, and that was fine. You weren't missing
Yep.
shit. I ain't missing nothing. I miss. I can tell you. I can probably count. I can honestly count on both hands, maybe four hands, how many times the phone call I got was a true emergency. If I had to say the difference between and emergency and convenience, the number is probably 1 to 1,000. Literally, very rarely, like I can count like my babies being born, which I was there. My dad was deceased, maybe a job or something like that. But like anybody in this room, Aunt, what's going on? Aunt, you're on.
All right.
Hey, how's it going?
That's going all right, man. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Tony? The other Tony, the other white meat.
Yeah. The other white meat, bro.
What's going on, man?
The two tones in the building.
Two tones in the
Yeah.
building.
No, not two tunes in the building. You're right.
I'm glad that you called in because I really want to do a podcast with you, and I want everybody to know I'll let him tell more about it, but he's been starting a fundraiser. I think that he's hit his five. Was it a $500 mark?
Yes, that's correct.
So he could start buying a photo equipment or video equipment. If you want to tell us a little bit more about it, if you're comfortable, we're all ears, man.
Yeah, 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 definitely, man. So like the way Donaldson said, my name's Tony. Um, I've been battling diabetes since I was in 12 years old. So going on 25 years, and I've had a lot of trying times, especially recently. Um, Recently, since December, I've actually gotten both of my legs amputated at the knee down. So I'm currently a bilateral amputee. Of course, I've been going through physical therapy, treatment, stuff like that. And as of Friday, yesterday, I've actually been fitted with two prosthetic legs, which I will get the second delivered next Friday.
Hmm.
And I'll be having both the prosthetic legs so I can learn how to walk again.
Hmm.
I did do a video, and it is on Facebook. If you're and on YouTube.
Hmm.
On YouTube, I'm listed under the bilateral ninja.
My shit. I
Um,
like that.
yeah, yeah, and basically, I just started videos as of last week to kind of give my an insight to everyone who doesn't know or may not be aware of how
Hmm.
the life of an amputee is.
Hmm.
Having to learn how to cope with it.
Hmm.
Um, Man, everything that I used to do, like walking, sitting, going to the restroom, going to the kitchen, taking a shower, getting in the car, all that has become upside down because I have to find new ways to adapt and
Hmm.
do that stuff. And at first, it was trying. At first, it was really hard to wrap my head about around what I was going through. And
Right.
having the dark stuff and thoughts and depression and stuff hit in,
Hmm.
sink into me to kind of give me that whole deal of um, like kicking myself of not taking care of myself a whole lot better through my
Hmm.
youth. Granted, I'm only 38 years old, so I'm not that old, but all these things have hit me now in my 30s into getting into.
Hey Tony, if you're still, oh Maya, you can always come back, man. Tony, you went out for a little bit second there. Hop back. What were you saying? You said you're only in your 30s. For some reason, Tony, I can't hear you. Um, Maya, hop on in if you'd like. NB Joshua, what's going on? Tony, I can't. I think you're talking still, but I can't. All right,
Hey,
I
bro,
can't
I'm
hear
gonna
you.
cut loose.
All right, man. Wait, cut loose in a
Thank you
bad
for letting
way,
me
or
jump in.
you
Oh no,
leaving?
we're barbecuing.
Okay. All right, man. I'll talk to you later. Thank you so
Go get a
much.
plate.
Oh
All
man,
right, take care, Tony.
Hey,
Hope to
Todd,
see you soon.
Hey, bro, listen, Todd. We gotta talk music soon, okay?
Man, anytime, man. Just let me know.
All right, but
Right,
you guys
I'm
be good.
doing a 30. I'm doing a 30-day on Facebook though, so you're gonna have to hit me up on the messenger tip.
That's a bet. Everybody's jumping off Facebook. Like there's a lot of people that are getting ready to take it to break from. It looks like.
Yeah, I'm. Um, it's whatever thing. Like whenever I get tired of it, I'm just gonna do what I gotta do. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Yeah. All right.
all right
Well,
All
now,
right,
take
bro.
Tony.
care, man.
We'll talk soon.
Tony, you still there,
All right.
man?
All right. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, I'm
now,
here, man.
yeah.
It's just it's
And what were
you
you
got to
saying?
remember it's my connection because of being out in the sticks, So
Oh
I
yeah.
don't get the greatest signal out here. Um, but yeah, man, like I was saying, I'm just trying to give an insight to everyone with the videos that I'm making to
Hmm.
go ahead and give an insight of how an amputee So someone in my position has to deal and adapt to all these things
Hmm.
that were once normal,
Right.
everyday things, things that like yourself and anyone else.
All right. Yeah, it went out again, but it's all good. But yeah, man. Anybody that's in the chat, for some reason, it won't let me reply back, but we are open. If anybody like to call in, Tony, I know your connection is going out, but you have such a powerful message, and that's why I wanted you to hop on and get in here because that's not an easy thing what you're battling. And I see the little green, so I know you're still talking. So I'll keep talking. If you hear me still talking, Tony, that means I can't hear you. The moment you can hop back in is the moment. So just keep talking until that connection gets better. And MB Joshua, we're all doing great, man. We humbly invite you into our forum. Um, what you're doing is powerful because you had to overcome not just the loss of your legs and autonomy, you had to fight a mental battle. And what I've come to realize is that mental battle, you're battling the devil, basically, because he's trying to let you feel that everything's lost, that there's no hope, that there's no way that you can push past your current circumstance. And that's never true. Tony dropped the call. Nick Nack, what's going on? That's never true. So many of the battles that we have, Prophet Emma and Courage Udafe, how's it going? So many of the battles that we have are in the mind, and so many of the thoughts that we have are untrue. The thoughts that we have of self, and they're usually defeatist thoughts. I was talking to a young man, he sold me some Vivid, I guess the security system, and I was telling him about the book As a Man Thinketh. And one of the exercises that's in the book that started me down this journey, one of the exercises was for one day, and I would challenge anybody in the room to try the same thing, is to spend one day thinking of, not thinking, paying attention to all the negative thoughts that you have in your head and then actively trying to push them out. It sounds like a simple task, but I can assure you that it's not. Because once you start trying to do that, you'll notice two things. One, you have way more negative thoughts that spiral through your brain on any given day than you ever realize. And two, you have so many negative thoughts about yourself that you fail to realize. Hey, what's going on, man? Nothing much. It's overwhelming. One of my neighbors just said a shout out to me. Um, it's overwhelming the amount of negative thoughts that we have about ourselves on any given day. And if you think about what is brainwashing, like when we think about brainwashing, we think of enemy soldiers grabbing you up, sticking you in a room, and playing messages over and over until you come out and you're all like, yes, all hail Tagba, or all hail Maya, or all hail Knickknack. You know, well, think about this. Could you imagine if there was a record that was playing in your ear 24/7 for 20 years, 30 years, telling you that you're worthless over and over and that you don't deserve to speak and that your feelings aren't valid? And this happens with that. The reason that the server ignored you is because you're weak. The reason that you didn't get the promotion is because the boss hates you. If you sit there and have these thoughts over and over, you're going to make that reality is going to come true. You're going to make it happen because you're going to start acting in such a fashion that makes those things true. And if you're somebody that's ever struggled with poor self esteem or depression or any of those things, people try to tell you, like, just get over it. That's a hole that's really hard to get out of because it didn't start yesterday. It's so I know I keep jumping all over the place, but another thing that I've been trying to do is there's an app that I'm using. It's called Streaks, and the app is for habit building. Because if you think about it, everything that you do, literally everything that you do, positive or negative, is nothing but a habit that you formed over the years As a baby, true, we have genetic predispositions to do certain things, but if you were in a household where healthy foods were given to you, well, you get into the habit because it only takes 21 days to get a habit. Why do obese people generally come from obese families? You don't generally see skinny, 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 fat. It's usually fat, 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 fat. Abuse victim, alcoholic, alcoholic, alcoholic. Because a generational curse is nothing more than a generational habit. But it's not all doom and gloom because the thing about habits is just as they can be made, you can make new ones as well. Excuse me. Nothing has to stay the same. So for me, the habits that I've been trying to accomplish is to drink sea moss gel every day, read one page of the Bible daily, don't eat fake sweets, eat 2 cups of fruit, eat 3 cups of vegetables, and control my tongue. To not talk about people
Mhm.
and to say only uplifting things about them. Because what I started to realize, well, when I sit there and think negative things and say negative things, that first has to pass through my mind, through my mouth. So who is it affecting more? Especially when I'm talking about somebody that's not present, it's affecting me more than it's affecting that person. So I'm trying to learn to stop, to have the only thoughts that reside in my brain, the only content that I consume are positive ones. So I've really stopped watching a lot of movies. I don't watch any movies. I don't watch any TV. I try to my best to stay off Facebook and social media because I want to control what comes into my brain. And I find on a day to day, my life is a lot better for it. I can honestly say that because people will come to me and they'll say, well, what do you think about such and such event? And I'll be like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And instantaneously, they'll give me their take on it. And I really don't care. I'm not interested. I'm not saying that I'm not interested in world events, but I am uninterested in how they're spun and given to us. And because I think it makes you anxious to sit there and think about
Yeah.
sinkholes and people getting blown up and all kinds of stuff. Not saying that those things aren't important, but just controlling what goes into your mind is such an if like if you are like have you ever hung around somebody that's constantly negative and they always talk about negative things and you're trying to bring them up, after a while that starts to bring you down. Just hearing them talk, simply
Yeah.
listening to this person talk in their pessimistic fashion literally will drain energy out of your body. You will become more
Well,
sluggish. What's that?
they become a toxic person.
Yeah, absolutely. They become a toxic person. But the opposite is true. How many times have we hung around somebody that's fucking a ball of energy? They're happy. They're always like, hey man, don't worry, we'll get through this. You feel that shit. It comes through and you will get like animated. You'll start getting pumped up and you start to
Hmm.
feel like, hey man, I got a shot at this shit. Yeah, let's fucking do it. That's all a
Yeah,
coach is. That's literally all a coach is. Or a
they're a
hype man.
cheerleader.
That's it. And it'll get you pumped.
That's
How many
right.
times have you watched a motivational video and be like, I'm all in? So it,
Yeah.
it has an action, not just on your mind, but on your body, like a real tangible one that you can feel.
Hmm. Definitely.
That's my rant. That's it. You guys can hop on in.
And that feeling always starts. It always starts with your mind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like all those motivational words, thoughts, encouragement. Whether they're verbal or nonverbal, like it all hits you in your head, and it makes you believe that you can do whatever it is. Whether it's catch that football, shoot that basketball, talk to that girl, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
if it's the reverse, if it's that hating ass dude that's like, oh man, oh man, she's out of your league, or "Oh man, you ain't gonna make that," or "Oh man, anything like that. It all starts in your head. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And
And
it's funny. Did he drop my call? Okay, I'm still here. Let me text him and let him
oh, go
know.
ahead.
Um, no, you're absolutely right. It affects you in such a way that you can't even measure or quantify. And I lost my thought because he called. What was I gonna say? Man, I really can't remember. But oh, what I was thinking of was about passive aggressiveness, right? Because what I've been for the last couple of days, I keep running all these passive aggressive people. Um, Passive aggressive people with their passive aggressive ass remarks, and I don't deal well with it. And generally want to fight fire with fire. I want to say something back, or um, and fight back with them. But in reality, I learned that the real, true answer is to walk away from them, and that takes a little piece of your ego to do, to not engage, to let them say whatever they're going to say, think whatever they're going to think, and simply walk away in the other direction.
Yeah, but some people
Because
got a bigger ego than that.
oh, I do. I want to fight it. But the thing about it is,
Hmm.
with passive aggressive people, don't even waste your time, because what they're actually feeding off of is your attention. They want that's the reason they're saying what they're saying. They're trying to shake you up. They're trying to
Yeah.
gather a response from you. They can't thrive with your attention. Could you walked up to somebody, raved, and went nuts, and they just looked at you and walked away and made you feel unimportant? That would hurt worse than them ranting and raving back at you, and even saying mean or
Hmm.
hurtful things. If what's that?
I tell people this all the time, all the time. I tell them this over and over again, and you want to know why I tell them this, because me myself, I'm passive aggressive as hell, and I'm naturally passive
That's
aggressive
not a
as hell.
good thing.
It
That's
gets on
okay.
people. Yeah, I know, I know, I know, I know. Trust me, it gets on people's nerves. It even gets on my nerves. You know what I mean? And I've tried
Hmm.
to do something about it, but it's just a part of who I am. You know what I'm saying? And I tell people, like, whenever you get into some a little, you know, you get into a confrontation with someone that's like that, just walk away. Don't even waste your time. I've said that
Right.
over and over again, and they don't listen to me. And then they come back and say, "Oh man, that person really pissed me off," and I'm just like, "Okay, I try to tell you." You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
it's and the thing you touched on about the ego, I am a firm believer that the ego is the enemy that lies
It is.
lies
It
within
is.
us. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Like, it'll get you in trouble. It'll get you hurt. In some situations, it might even get you killed. You know what I'm saying? I hate to go that dark, but
No,
it's
no.
happened
It's
before.
it's
I've seen
gotten
it
many.
No.
happen.
It's gotten many people killed. It's perfect.
Hmm.
It Donnie.
No, he's right. He's right. I think Donnie. I think he's having connection problems like the way that I was.
Oh, okay.
Let's see.
I'll just see. I'll just go ahead and continue on that. Like,
Sure. Sure.
um, that's why every time I get into, and the ego can be tricky at times too. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
the best thing that you can do is just don't listen to your ego. Do the exact opposite of what it's trying to get you to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm somebody that, I'm not the greatest fighter out there, but I can throw hands when I need to. You know what I'm saying? I'm in walk away mode now because I'm, like
Hello.
most of us. You,
Hey, could you
you,
guys hear my
you
conversation?
no, you
Oh,
went
y'all
out
just
for a
broke.
little bit.
Okay, yeah. Somebody just had to ask me an urgent medical question, so I had to take that. But I'm back. What were we talking
Oh,
about?
that's fine. No, we were talking about the ego, and I was kind of sort of expounding on what I was saying, and you hopped in for a little bit.
Well, give it to me again.
No, I was talking about how how your ego can get you in trouble,
Yeah.
and um, my solution to that is to do the exact opposite thing that your ego tells you to do. If they tell you to hit that person, just walk away. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Unless if it gets to the point to where you have to defend yourself. If you have to defend yourself, by all means. You know what I'm saying? But more times than not, and I've been in my fair share of fights in my life. More times than not, if you just walk away, and I know a lot of people around you are going to say, "Oh man, he's a punk" or whatever the hell, but what am I going to get? Even if I do beat the person's ass, dude, like, what am I going to get out of that?
You know what you usually get from it, and I think we've all experienced this: embarrassment. You're
There it
embarrassed
is.
of your actions later.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times that I've done something and popped off, and then in the moment I feel like, yeah, I showed that mother, you know. And then I look back and I think about all the people that were around me, that were listening to me do that, and I'm embarrassed 9 times out of 10. When
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
literally, when literally, if I had walked away and been the quote unquote bigger man, I actually would have been way more badass.
right. You just made a spectacle of yourself and just made yourself look like you know you're like you're just dumb.
Well,
You
like
just
the
dumbfound
example,
yourself.
like the example that I was using earlier, like, could you imagine if I got into an argument with Jay Z on how to make a hit record? Right? I like Jay Z. You don't know what the fuck you talking about. I know how to make a hit record. Now, who would look more ridiculous? Me for arguing with him, or him for arguing with me? Could you imagine if he got all up in arms and was like, "Fuck you, Donaldson. You don't know what you're talking about." It would make him look ridiculous.
Oh, definitely,
Hmm.
definitely.
When in reality, who would look more ridiculous if he just hung up the phone on me and went right on back to his life? And I was like, yeah, I showed him. Everybody would be laughing at me like, yeah,
Yep.
you didn't
Yeah,
show him
like yeah,
shit.
right.
Yeah, it's like,
Hmm.
yeah,
Like,
right.
like
So if they,
who
but
do you think you are?
exactly,
Yeah,
that's what makes 50 Cent look like such a small person. He thinks striking back at everybody in the way that he does makes him like this ongoing thing that he still has with Ja Rule. It actually brings him down a lot. It makes him look like somebody that you really wouldn't want to be around.
And Ja Rule wants to move on, kind of. I can tell from what
Well,
he's
come
saying.
on. It's
He where
almost
he's at.
20 plus years, man. Over nothing. Over a
I mean,
misunderstanding.
even Jeezy and Gucci Mane. Like, I know they're. I'm not going to sit here and act as if they're friends, but if they were in the same room, you're
They
not
wouldn't
gonna.
want to
They're not
kill
gonna
each other.
get all. No, I mean they're. I mean you got to understand. Like both of them. Like everyone that we're talking. I know. 50 Cent. It doesn't have. I think that might be one of the main reasons why he hasn't gone that far because everyone that we've talked about, they're in a they're married or have a significant other and they're
Mhm.
trying to start a family. 50 Cent ain't like he resents his own seed.
Yeah. Well,
So
think about this.
how do you think
But, but think about this. Who has Jay
mhm.
Z that you can think of ever had the problem with the longest that he keeps bringing up? Name a person. He moves on. He moves
Oh
on
yeah,
from any beat.
definitely.
He moved on. I mean, like, literally, I can't name a single person that Jay Z had beef with that he couldn't move on from, whether it be Nas, whether it be
Dame.
Jazzo, anybody. He moves on
Yes.
because the thing about it is that's
Well, you
part
know
of
what?
the
You're
heal.
right. He did move on from Dame.
Absolutely.
He did
And
move on
the
from Dame,
and
and that's the thing.
the moving on is for you. And
Yep.
here's the funny part:
So
Dame couldn't move on. Dame still talks about it.
nope.
Here's the thing,
And guess
and
what?
his
That
and
go
his
ahead.
life reflects that. And his life reflects the fact Dame keeps doing worse and worse, not only in financial but physical health. Because when you hold on to anger and resentment, how many times have you met somebody who's still angry or resentful to somebody else? The first time that they tell the story, you feel bad for them. But then the 20th time when they talk about their ex-husband or ex-spouse and they're still bitter and angry, that emotion that you have for them starts to change. It starts changing from a one of like, oh, I feel so bad from you to I want to get away from you. I want to get away from you because that negative and ugly energy transfers and it goes out. But the true power is they got to let it go. And I know it's a hard thing. And I think, Maya, we were talking about it before. When you have that
Mhm.
in you, where you're resentful and angry to somebody else, you need to get to the root of it. And the root of it, a lot of times, is you're hurt. You're hurt that this person rejected
Yeah.
you and you gave them everything. But it's hard to say that. It's easier to say, oh, this person's a piece of S, they're nothing, they're worthless, and blah, blah, blah. But everybody that's anybody can clearly look at you and tell that you still care about this person.
Well,
Definitely.
definitely, that's definitely true. Um,
Hmm.
I give myself an example of when I split with my ex. I mean, I was the
Hmm.
same way. I didn't have any resentment about our relationship. I didn't have any resentment about the fact of us splitting up. But though there were things that I would still talk about her and talk about my significant other and stuff, you know, there was a lot of times where I felt resentment. I
Hmm.
felt, felt that. And yeah, I think there's other people that, a lot of people that feel that way after their relationship of that manner, whether being personal. Hell, you can even get it out of personal relationships with
Absolutely.
a coworker and stuff like
Absolutely.
that, in any kind of relationship.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And
So
Hannah, no, I'm listening. Go ahead. Hannah was just asking,
no,
was
no,
this topic about toxic relationships? And we're just talking about everything, Hannah. Nothing in particular,
mhm.
just kind of going. But what were you saying, Tony?
No, I was just saying, that resentment is something that's hard for a person to deal
Hmm.
with.
Hmm.
It's one of those things that.
Well, what I find, what makes that resentment, and this is me personally, I find what makes that resentment so hard to deal with is because you're dealing with an emotion that you generally have never dealt with before. So you're dealing with somebody that you perceived has wronged you. And the difficult part is admitting to, you know what? I'll bring it back. I was watching a video and it helped me move past some stuff. I was watching a video on Mike Tyson's Hot Box podcast with him and Ken Shamrock. And then they were talking about when they were at the top, how they had all these friends. And when they hit the low, people backstab them, did all kinds of ornery things to them. And they
Mhm.
said that the most hurtful thing about the whole thing is that they still love these people because even though they were being deceived, their feelings were true and organic. That's one of the most difficult and most that's one of the most difficult emotions to have when
Oh yeah,
somebody deceives you and wrongs you and they clearly don't wish the best for you, but your emotions, your true emotions for them haven't changed. It's so difficult to deal with that because you don't know how to process it. You want to tell yourself, fuck them, I hate them, excuse my language, and you want to jump right to that part of the process, but you're being untrue to yourself and yourself
yeah,
knows it.
and you can't. You're like you said, yourself does not recognize that because you
Hmm.
are. If you do feel strongly for somebody, I mean, for say you want to say you. I'll throw myself as an example.
Hmm.
My ex, I loved her with all of my heart and soul. I loved
Hmm.
her and her daughter.
Hmm.
And the fact of when we split, of what she told me was the reason why we split, it hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt more than when she cheated on me when we first got together. It hurt.
Hmm. Tony, you still there?
Yeah, but how can you ever believe them again? How can you ever?
You can't. You can't, and that's one of the most difficult. That is.
There yeah, something just, like even if you give them another chance, it's just gonna be a matter of time,
Hmm.
and either they're gonna do it again,
Hmm.
or you'll be just paranoid
Yep.
all the time. They might do it
Absolutely.
again,
Yeah.
which is absolutely, it's just, this is not a life. I think
No,
it's
it's a
really,
horrible
really
way
bad.
to live. And that's the thing, you know, I've had to come to this conclusion, and it took me a long time to get here, that every time that I've ever been deceived in my entire life, Hannah, how's it going? Every time that I've ever been
How's it going?
deceived, it's going
Hanus!
pretty
Hi,
good.
Hello,
Hannah!
Maya. Everybody, I'm sorry for interrupting you
No,
guys.
no,
Hello,
it's okay.
Maya.
Hi!
I,
Welcome, Hannah. How are you
I'm
doing?
doing great. What about you guys?
Doing good. We're
Doing
having just a
okay.
Uh,
really good
it's
conversation.
really, yeah, it's really interesting topic, by the way. Okay, I'm all ears. Listen to you. I'm,
Okay.
I gotta give my opinion on the.
Okay.
Okay,
What,
okay,
what
carry
all I
on,
was
guys.
gonna yeah, what I was gonna say is that every time that I've ever been deceived or lied to, looking back in my 38 something years of life, if I was being honest with myself, I knew it. I knew this person wasn't being truthful with me. I knew they were deceiving me, but the source of where it was coming from made it so hard for me to wrap my mind around it. This person is telling me that they care for me, that they're my friend, that they're my girlfriend, that they're my best friend, but all of their actions show me otherwise. So I didn't want to believe the deceit. I've never been completely blindsided by people's deceitful actions. There's always been seeds of it that show up
Mhm,
in both
mhm.
their actions and even some of their words. Hannah?
Um, I wanted to say something, guys. If
Yeah.
we really need to have to avoid to have high expectation. I mean, for people that we're dealing with, if you
Mm-hmm.
really need to have a healthy relationship, so you have to
Mm-hmm.
count on yourself. You don't have to have this high expectation. I mean, whenever you
Mm-hmm.
have this high expectation, you will, I mean, find yourself facing a lot of problems with your partner. So
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't know. You just have to put them on their, I mean, the appropriate place. I mean, count on yourself. Don't count
Mm-hmm.
on them.
Right.
And you have to, I mean,
I,
if you want
I
to
agree.
really to judge the person that you're dealing with, you have to get through a lot of situations and experiences before you judge
Mm-hmm.
him or just decide is he the right guy or not, or right girl or
Right.
not. So
Absolutely.
Hmm.
you really have to get through a lot of things first before you
Mm-hmm.
decide. Hmm.
You know, the thing about that, Hannah, I had a thought that I was writing down, and it was called What You Can Get. And the thought is you can only get from people what they have to offer you, regardless of your relationship with that person, whether it be your mom, dad, sister, anybody. Because just because somebody's your
Hmm.
family member, it doesn't mean that they can give you what you think a person in that position should be able to give you. That's something that you're projecting onto that person. If you have a husband or a wife, you think, "Oh, a husband or a wife should be able to give me this or this or this." Well, if that person doesn't have it to give, you're going to frustrate both of you guys. So you have to be accepting of people who they are in their current state and triage them accordingly. And it'll make your life better and their life better. And the analogy that I generally use is, could you imagine if you went to somebody morbidly obese, 900 pounds, and decided you were going to turn them into a fitness model, and that's not something they were ready for? And you just walked in the door and said, okay, today's the day we're going to change your life. And even though it might be the best for them, if they're not mentally ready to do that or have even agreed to do that, all you're going to do is piss them off. And you're going to anger
Oh,
yourself in the process. That's literally all that's going to happen. There will be no success.
hmm.
What were you
That's
saying,
right.
Tony?
Totally
You
agree.
and that's just something that I've
No,
had to learn is go ahead.
no, I'm just agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. That's correct. You
Hmm.
have to go ahead and find somebody, or people, again, family members or anybody, even a complete stranger could have something to offer you,
Hmm.
because they want to give it.
Right.
And if you're with somebody, or you're associating with somebody who doesn't want to give you something that will benefit you, because don't get me wrong, they can also give you negative. But if
Absolutely.
it's not something that you want to get, but
Hmm.
if you're trying to get positive stuff from somebody, It can be anybody. And if they don't want to give it, then they're no good in your life. They're no good for you. You just like
Well,
earlier we were saying, just walk away.
here's the thing, Tony.
There's a quote.
Hold on for 1 second.
Oh,
Not even
oh,
just
go
that.
ahead. Go ahead.
They may not want to give it, but they may not have it to give. I think Maya Angelou said, you know, beware the man with no shirt who offers you his. When people have
Mm,
something, they generally protect themselves first. So if somebody doesn't love themselves, how is it indeed possible for them to give you love? And so we meet so many damaged or broken people, and we decide that they're going to love us or we're going to love them. They can't give you something that they don't understand. It's not possible, because if you had armor to protect yourself, you protect yourself first and then everybody else. Tagba, what were you going to say?
I was gonna say on a semi-related note that there's a quote that I hold near and dear to my heart, and it's don't expect yourself out of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and it's also this also ties in with what they have to offer. You know what I mean? Like as far as giving and you being able to take from them. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is going to have. I mean, we pretty much touched on this. So I'm just kind of sort of reinforcing the general gist of this conversation. Um, Not everyone's not going to have something to offer you. You know what I mean? I mean, you and I, Donald, we pretty much had this discussion the other day. Everyone doesn't have something for you. Everyone's not going to like you,
Nah,
and you're not going to like everybody. You know what I'm
nah.
saying? And
Mm-hmm.
of course, you're gonna have to do your due diligence, vibe checks, or whatever you need to. I mean, sometimes it's going to be very easy for you to recognize whether or not that person's for you, and sometimes it's going to be tough. Because people are sneaky, but
Mm-hmm.
it's really not that difficult once you spend, say, two or three, maybe as many as five periods of time with that person. Because after that amount of time, you kind of sort of get what they're about,
You know what?
and
I'll
you
have to
real
disagree with you a little bit. I'll disagree with you just a little
okay.
bit. I think you can feel them out in almost 5 to 10 minutes. You can feel that when somebody's trying to, especially the older you get, because it's pattern recognition. It's really easy to see
You know
the
what?
older
That's
you
true.
get. The older that I get, the moment somebody starts trying to sell me something, the faster they talk, the slower I listen, the more perfect they appear, the more flawed I know they are. It people can't lie as well as they think. It screams off them when somebody's being deceitful, because your gut instinct is designed to pick up on incongruencies.
True.
When
Yeah.
you see red,
Mm-hmm.
yellow, like there's a thing called micro expressions, and this is something that I thought was in my mind, but it's true. Have you ever told a friend some bad news, and for a split second, like so fast that you can't register it, you see a smile across their face, or they might even laugh, and you're like, "Why are you laughing?" "I just told you I lost my job." Or "Why are you laughing?" Or
Mhm.
"Why did you smile?" Or when you tell
Mm-hmm.
them some good news and they grimace for
Yep.
like
Mhm.
it's so fast.
Yep.
It's so fast that you don't
Mhm.
know if what you saw is what you saw. And even as I'm talking, everybody in here is reflecting on a moment where that happened. And you're like, "Nah, this is my buddy. I know this guy. There's no, what you saw was correct. What you saw is the
Mhm.
truth. It's the
You know,
admitting it to yourself part that's hard."
ex- you
Trust your
know, it's
gut.
funny. I was, the homeboy that I was talking to you about the other day,
Mhm.
like he used to do that shit all the time to me. You know what I'm saying? And once again, you're right, because
Mhm.
if you look at somebody as a friend, your ace, your homie, or whatever, you're gonna do everything that you can to fight. Hell, I'm still fighting it to this day, bro. Because once you get to a certain level, once you have someone in that friend category in your mind, it's kind of hard to move them out of that,
Right.
because especially it's also dependent on how long you hang out with them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's, in the back of
Mm-hmm.
your mind, it's like, oh man, I've known this person for 10 years, for example. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as you get it, you're like, oh shit. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really down for me like that. You know what I'm saying? He was just around because I have something to offer. You know what I'm saying? And of course, you're gonna fight that, but eventually you realize that that person wasn't supposed to be there ever. You know what I'm saying? And
So
it's
hold on, I got bad news,
Good.
everybody. The live stream is going to end in the next 2 minutes. Apparently, I've hit my capacity.
Oh,
So I know I've
unfortunately.
been I've been having
Yeah,
a good time
unfortunately,
with
yeah.
you guys. I've really been having a good time tonight. Maya, Hannah, it was lovely to meet you guys.
Thanks, Donnie.
Thank you so
Harlem,
much, brother.
oh, I'll be back. I don't know when I'll be back. I hop on and hop off intermittently. Um,
Yeah, I'm
Harlem, you
followed
missed out.
you.
It was a
So
good
Take your
one.
time.
Oh yeah, I have to just let these thoughts build up before. I've tried doing it on a scheduled basis and it never works. Tagma,
Uh
thanks
huh.
for always calling in. Tony, I'll see you guys next time and
you
blessings.
Yeah.
know,
You guys
man.
have a
Pleasure.
good one.
Enjoy your
All right.
meal.
Yeah, you
Take
can hear
care.
that.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys.
It
All
was my
right.
it was
Take
Bye
it
nice
easy,
bye.
meeting
guys.
you guys.
Take care.
Y'all
It was
take
real.
care.
Yeah,
Bye
same
bye.
here. Same
All
here.
right.
Bye
Sure.
bye.